How are you doing today? This is an empty butane canister, which some people refill. And if you look on the side here, you've got some interesting information about what type of fuel is in there and the clear indication this container is not refillable. So people will empty these and then they'll take smaller canisters and then consolidate all the fuel in here. This is a refillable butane canister. This is made by Campingmoon. It's a TC35 and it is a very strong and tough butane canister versus a very thin-walled butane canister. I want to show you a couple of differences here. If you look at the Lindel valve on here, you can see the quality and the strength of that Lindel valve. It will last for many refills. You can see it's brass. It's got a lot of strong components on the inside. Over here, if you look at this Lindel valve, over time it will wear out. It's not made to be used over and over and over again. So the threads are made out of this sheet metal steel. I can't really vouch for the inside of the Lindel valve there, but if you were to tear that apart and perform some tests on that, you'd probably see that this is not going to last as long as this. The other part here is that the seals, or the way this is sealed up, is that this metal is rolled over and stamped and clamped in place. Same with the bottom piece here. Over here, this is one continuous piece of aluminum. I think I said that right, aluminum. Yes, I did. So down here, you've got a mount for a tripod to stabilize the tank, and then up top here, you have the Lindel valve. But other than that, there's no seams or areas where this can break apart and leak. And it feels very heavy, almost like these propane tanks in the background. This is 435 grams when it is completely empty. I put 110 grams of fuel in there, so now that is, the weight of this thing is 545 grams with a full load of fuel. So 110 grams of fuel. What you have is strength, and you can reuse this. So you can consolidate older butane canisters like this butane canister that I found a while ago. I was able to transfer the contents from it into this tank very easily. All I had to do was just turn this canister upside down and connect it. There's a small little nozzle in the middle, and this nozzle right here is slightly larger. It fit over that smaller nozzle. I pressed down on it, it sealed, and I transferred about 20 grams worth of fuel in here into this container very easily. This was also used to transfer the remaining contents of this tank into here as a test. Now to do that, you need one of these little transfer valves. So what this does is you open it up and you have the capability to go from the tank up here into the tank below. So you just screw this on here like this, very easily. And then you just screw the other tank on top of it. So the donor tank is on top and the receiver is on the bottom. You put a little bit of pressure on there to get that closed. And then over here you have a relief valve, so you can get some of the air out of that tank when the headspace is filled with liquid. So up here is slightly warmer. This thing here was sitting in the freezer when I made that transfer. So it went from hot to cold, or I should say room temperature to cold. And then you can always put just a little bit of warm water on the top of here to finalize that. Even after making that transfer, this tank on top still had enough residual fuel in there to allow me to light up this stove for a few minutes. So this is something you would do outside. You notice I didn't perform that transfer of fuel. The other important part here is that you actually have to turn the valve on You have to open it in order to make that transfer possible. So this is a nice little transfer valve, which is really nice to use for transferring from smaller containers to consolidate into this reusable tank. Now, how does that compare with propane? Well, over here I have a small propane canister. It weighs 254 grams empty, so about half of that weight. When you have it full, it's 304 grams. So it only holds 50 grams worth of propane. If you put butane in there, the butane is slightly heavier. So probably you imagine this would be about 65 grams. So a little bit heavier because the molecular weight of butane is more than propane. Over here, you'll see that this propane canister here holds quite a bit. You can hold 448 grams worth of fuel, but the container starts to get heavy, 1,072 grams full. So this is about half of that weight, but about a fourth of the amount of fuel in there as well. So keep that in mind. But this gives you the ability to take this with you, along with the refill adapter. And if you find butane tanks out there that were slightly empty, you can use them to refill your container. You can refill with this type, or you can take these relatively inexpensive butane canisters here, which hold 250 grams, and transfer some of those contents into here for stoves that sit directly on top of a butane canister, or a lamp that sits directly on top of here. So that's how that would work. The other option here is to just take this adapter and put it onto the top here. So this is meant to just connect like that. And then what that gives you is the ability to then connect this Lendl valve right here with your stove over here. So you could just operate off of one of these lighter weight containers. You know, what this here is, when it's full, I don't have it labeled here, but here, I'll just weigh it out right now. It's about 350 grams full. Yeah, 356 grams. So you could get by with this as well. Just keep in mind that you have some limitations with the top portion there. So that's why it's good to have all these little adapters in your arsenal to handle things like that in situations where you need to go from one type to another. So this right here, when it's empty, is roughly 150 grams. Let me just make sure that's tared. Okay, with the cap. So if you put the cap on there, you're dealing with 150 grams of just the tank weight, but it's not reusable. You can get a lot more use out of this. It will be heavier, and this is safer. I know that there are people who use these consistently and they fill them maybe 10 times and then they don't use them anymore. But this is the safer approach. So anyways, I just thought I'd show you something that's unique. I haven't seen this before. A reusable canister for butane. You no longer have to throw anything away when you're out camping, similar to these smaller propane tanks and the larger refillable propane tank. These are legal to refill and transport. This one here is refillable. There isn't a ruling or law that I've seen that prohibits transportation or refilled containers for butane, but it doesn't matter. Safety first, right? So just thought I'd show you that. That's the Campingmoon TC35. Quite an interesting little tank. Thanks for watching.